You are listening to another episode of The David Minuto Show. I am so glad you're joining us. You are freaking awesome. I appreciate you. I love you. Thank you for listening and or watching. I do appreciate your time. There's like 1 gazillion podcasts out there, and you chose to be with me today. So appreciative. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And you're going to be so happy because today I have on the show, he is a brand new friend, but come to find out, he is from my town of Rochester. That is Rochester, New York. He's been all over the place. He came back a few weeks ago to do a training, and I got to meet him. And I got to tell you, he is someone who has spent his life helping people hear that beautiful 3-letter word, which is yes. Y-E-S. His name is Dean Minuto, and he is the founder of, get this, Yescalate. I love that. Yescalate. And he's a master teacher of influence. He is an expert in blending neuroscience and behavioral psychology to help us communicate better, faster, and with integrity. Dean, I'm going to call you Dino because that's what you said. Please your do. Friends call you Dino.
I said everyone who loves me calls me Dino. So let's.
I fell in love with you right away. So Dino, welcome to the David Minuto Show.
It's the DM show. We got double. We got double DM.
A lot of DMs going on. Yeah.
But I said it should be the WM show. It should be with Mamano because you focus on what matters. I got to pay you a compliment. I listened to the last 2 episodes, and now I'll go back and listen to more. And there's some great stuff there, focusing on what matters. One nugget that I picked up from Scaramucci, and it's going to be 100% Italians. That's all we're going to talk about today, which he picked up from Mr. Golisano, who my father believes should be sainted for what he's doing now, giving money back to children's hospitals, etc. But time. Mr. Golisano, who founded Paychecks, of course, said there's no such thing as self-made. He talked about we made, right? That WM. So this should be 100%. The WM show.
I love it. Just don't turn that glass upside down because you're going to get all wet, but it'll say WM, right? So
I'm already all wet. You just don't know.
Hey, let's keep this rated G. Come on. Dino, I love you already. So I met you about a month ago. I was a guest at a Vistage meeting at the Country Club of Rochester.
That's the other cup I got here.
Oh, you got Vistage as well. I want to thank Michelle Ashby for inviting me to that meeting. It was super fantastic, and I got to meet you. And, we had this instant Paisan connection. And I said, I think we were in the bathroom, and I said, hey, I got to have you in my podcast. And you're like, don't talk to me right now, but we'll talk later. So
that's not what I said. I said, you got it. I said, let's do it.
I got you to say yes.
Thank you for the opportunity to contribute. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. So I'm thinking, the word yes. Now, are you just a kid that grew up always trying to convince people to say yes to get people to go along with what you wanted?
Well, the answer is yes. The magic really came when I realized that if I could solve a problem, whether it was mow a lawn, wash and wax a car, people would pay me. And it's really as simple as that. So I was listening to your podcast with Alana, and she was talking about what she was doing to find clients and to build her business. And Anthony Scaramucci talked about the same thing when he was trying to build his investment business and interviewing and prospecting. And I said to myself, it's really a lot simpler than that. It's about identifying a problem that you can solve. And that's why if there's a problem that you can solve, you don't got to worry about selling. You got to worry about making a friend and a friend saying, hey, I know someone who can help me with this. So it's pretty simple, but people do tend to overcomplicate things.
Yeah, I mean, that's how most entrepreneurs end up in business is they have a problem, or one of their friends and family has a problem, or they see a problem that they want to solve, and then they build a business around it, correct?
Right. Well, and most entrepreneurs, and Scaramucci, I think, was one of these, and Alana in her own way as well, the problem is they can't be an employee. Mm-hmm. So they're an entrepreneur because they know, I am never going to be an employee.
We're unemployable. We are unemployable, right?
I just think you say, why? Your dad was at Kodak.
Yep.
Correct? My dad was at
30 years.
IBM. And, there was a time, probably the same with you when we were growing up, where we assumed those businesses were going to take care of their employees, that they were going to be around forever. And that didn't happen. When I graduated from college, in 1990, was the first real huge economic downturn. And it led me to understand some things I had heard over and over from people who have influenced me over the years, which is no one is going to take care of you except yourself. Mm-hmm. So it's all about continuing to develop your skills. And if your skill is the ability to find a problem and solve it, you could parachute into any city in America and find business.
So thank you for that, and I couldn't agree more. Let's go back. Let's document the beginning of your journey as an entrepreneur and a world-class trainer in sales. It
happened in Bermuda on a honeymoon my parents took. That was exactly 9 months before I was born. You want to talk about the very start of the journey?
The very beginning. So that, your parents had a problem.
Well, obviously my dad did. But I was telling you and your producer, the first blessing, when I say my prayers every night, and I have since I was a kid, and you thank God for the blessings. But the first blessing is that family, being born into that family and with those parents and in the part of the world that we got born into. Rochester, I was only there till I was 9, but it was a pretty great place to be a kid. And with two parents, I was sharing with you and your producer, who were in the nursery together. My dad was born 3 days before my mom, and they were in this little town they grew up in, Batavia, New York. She's never known a world without his voice. And they've been married since they were 18.
Wow.
And a few years later, they had enough money to take a little honeymoon. My dad was in the Navy before he went into IBM, and they went to Bermuda. And we could do the math because they just celebrated 61 years of marriage. And I took them back to the resort they were at 9 months before I was born. Love it. The border agent said, "Have you been to Bermuda before?" And I said, "Well, this is an interesting question." And I told him the story, and he goes, "Okay, you have." I said, "I don't recall it, but."
Right, made in Bermuda. Yeah,
made in Bermuda. Yeah,
I love it. So great, origin story. Now let's get to the beginning, the origin of your Yescalate. What was the first problem that you solved to get your flywheel turning as an entrepreneur, as a problem solver, et cetera?
And thank you. It's a great question. And I love the way you've asked that of the other folks. And so I had a chance to kind of process it as I was walking before coming in here with you and your producer. And for me, it really started very young. It was all about me loving making my own money. And, I could go out on a weekend, wash and wax 3 or 4 cars, come back with $100, $150 in cash and go right to the record store, and buy Pink Floyd's The Wall double album and not have to ask anyone's permission. Rode my bike miles to the mall. I mean, it was a different world. And I took that same thought process that this isn't as hard as people make it seem into college. So I was like Anthony Scaramucci to a certain degree. I was the first kid on either side of my family to have the kind of education that Anthony and I were blessed with because of our parents. I went to a Jesuit college in Syracuse. So Lemoyne gave me a scholarship, David, and I bought a Pontiac Trans Am. So everyone was happy. But
what an Italian.
It was Smokey and the Bandit. It was nice. Black and gold with a flame-throwing buzzard, and that phoenix has become kind of a symbol for me, that idea of rebirth. But my focus has always been this: let me learn something that I can then explain to someone else to help them solve a problem. So in college, every course I took, I said, is there something here I'm learning that I can sell to the local business community? And I started doing that. So I started doing little consulting gigs from what I was learning in college. And, all great people have a Nepo baby story. They look to their dad to make their first job introduction. They make fun of people now for being Nepo babies. And I remind them that Jesus was a Nepo baby. So
Yeah, his father has something to do with something. Yeah.
So my dad was at IBM, and a fellow IBMer had started. He went off and he became the president of a company called Dun and Bradstreet. And so I called him, and Dun and Bradstreet was in the data world. And at the time, I had degrees now in finance and marketing, and I thought I wanted to go into investment banking, but I wanted to interview with Bob and hear what was going on with him. And he said, listen, you're going to have a lot more fun learning about sales and marketing and how people use data than you will having them work you to the bone as an investment banker on Wall Street. And so he hired me as far as I know, the only consultant for the Dun & Bradstreet Corporation directly out of college, and gave me the state of Connecticut as a territory, which was an unbelievable opportunity to see how all different sizes of businesses were using information for telemarketing, for direct mail, for field sales. And I began asking the question, what works? And what can I share with other clients that will help them? Not sharing any confidential information, but there were people doing things that worked, and I figured out what they were. And then I could explain why they worked so that I could So boom, that has been the story of my whole career. I read voraciously, and I'm always looking for what works. And if I can give people one thing, for example, if you and I can give folks one thing that they can apply from listening to us today, then we're useful, and you and I are here to be useful. You and I are here to make a difference.
Yeah, I love it. So, when did the whole, your brand is all about getting people to say yes, right? That's where Yescalate comes from. How did that all start? When did the genesis of I'm the yes guy?
Yeah, the first book that I wrote is called The One-Page Sales Coach, and the gentleman who helped me write that book has become a dear friend. He's a book whisperer. He's helped 300, 400 CEOs and people write their own book. And as he went through this series of workshops with me, he basically said, this is just all about yes, and getting to yes faster. And I made the connection because it's really one of my superpowers. Like I was doing with the letters today for you and me, WM, what matters, with Mamano, we made. That's one of my superpowers, is I make connections that other people don't see. And I made a connection between the word yes and the word escalate. And if you can find a word that simple on the internet that no one else has, and then you trademark it, and then it's the emblems on the side of my Porsches. It's on the sleeve of my shirt. The sleeve of my shirts are all embroidered with the word yes. So as you start embodying who you're becoming, that's really what a brand is. A brand is you becoming the promise that you're making out there. So that was now my corporation. Here's a funny story, and you'll like this. My corporation is called Telligent, Teligent, Telligent, because intelligent means applied thinking. And it was a play on the word tell, because I was doing a lot of work in the telemarketing business. So Telligent. Now, when I told my father this, he said, what's wrong was dupid taken. Yeah.
He loved it, huh?
Yeah. Still, intelligence is a great word. You know? Yeah. The problem is that one already had a couple of trademarks associated with it from 35 years ago.
Yep.
Yeah. So magic for any author, for any speaker, for any entrepreneur is finding a space that's unique to you.
You can own it.
And you can own it. And I own, and when it comes to the CEO organization, Vistage, that's how you and I met, which is the largest CEO organization in the world, I have earned the right to be seen as that guy who owns that space. Yeah. So I've delivered to more than 1,200, all told, of those CEO groups. And many of the people in your group had heard me before and, were coming back to hear me again. So I'm honored by that.
Are you surprised? Like they want to hear me again? I'm just kidding.
It's good to be surprised.
I love it. So a lot of what you do, is about sales, right? Sales and marketing professionals. And there's a lot of misconceptions about sales, right? Like I'll speak to your group and the whole thing is, how many of you are in sales? And maybe a quarter will raise their hand. Like they're actually in sales because it says so on their business card. But I'm like, you all are in sales, right? We're all selling something, ideas, energy. We need to convince people of of what we're doing, and it's a good thing in the company, et cetera. Every 3-year-old is in sales, right? And you are the same way, right? You gotta, and so what are some of the misconceptions that people have about sales? Because sometimes it's a dirty word, right?
Well, if you look it up in the dictionary, there's 7 entries, and it starts with cheat and ends with hoax. And
I wonder why.
Yeah, and the paradigm, that means a mental model. When people think about sales, they think manipulation. So what I would suggest is we take this word sell and we make it an acronym, because what I teach is the science of engagement, learning, and leverage. So when I think of sell, there's actually a science explaining how do people make decisions and how can we help them to make a decision using less energy in an honest and ethical way. If I can help people do that and also change the paradigm around this word, I can help them make more of a difference. So you and I have a unique opportunity in that there's a vital few in the human race. There are few who influence many. And you and I have an opportunity to learn from them and talk to them and share their ideas. When I ask an audience of CEOs what percentage of Americans are in sales, they will say 100% of Americans. They will acknowledge that everyone is in the business of engaging and communicating and wanting to help people make a decision faster. And yet the Department of Labor, I'll then put up the statistic, 1 in 9 Americans are quote unquote in sales. And the other 8 don't want to be, David, because they don't want to be seen as manipulative. And what they're giving up is an opportunity to make more of a difference. Well, it doesn't matter if you're a doctor, it doesn't matter if you're a CPA, it doesn't matter, project manager, engineer. We spend about half of our day, 49%, just under half of our day, all of us, trying to influence, trying to persuade. So I've been fascinated by that area. And I've been really lucky to, if you're lucky, you're going to meet one person who changes your life, or you're going to read one book that changes your life. I've been blessed to meet someone like that every year. And because of the amount of reading I do, to read a book that changes my life, every 6 months. And I then get to learn that and find those 1 or 2 things that people go, well, that was really useful. Thank you.
So thank you for that. I know your tagline is get to yes faster, right? And so I love giving, having this conversation and giving some meat that people can be like, wow, I learned something on this podcast that I could walk away and start doing. So what are some things that you can teach the Dave Bomano podcast family, if they're going to stop listening to this at the end of the podcast, everybody, not now, and you're going to give them some actionable tips to get to yes faster without appearing cheesy, manipulative, as you say, or that definition of sales in the dictionary, right? What is your practical advice to get people to hit the ground running doing these great strategies that you have?
So there's 3, which the CEOs that attend my sessions say are the biggest things they take away. And here's the first one. And you referenced this on one of your podcasts when you quoted from another person who's influenced you, who talked about stages of life. And you get to a stage in life where you realize no one's really paying attention to your stuff. They're paying attention to themselves. Yep. So the thing I would start with in any situation is people are focused on themselves. Can you tell this person what's in it for them? Mm-hmm. But put yourself in their shoes. And remember that the brain, although it's the most energy consumptive organ in the body, has only got 2 goals. First goal is survival. And the second goal is to use as little energy as possible to achieve the first goal. So put yourself in their shoes. And that's where I said, find a problem and make life easy for them. Okay? The Latins had a phrase, utile et dulce. Today, let me be useful, utility, and let me be sweet, let me be easy. So if you think that goes back to those 2 goals the brain has, survival, that would be useful, and making life easier using less energy. So the second thing I would tell people is everyone wants to know what's different about you and how you're going to make a difference for them. The brain pays attention to difference. And then the third thing, and this is the easiest one, and it's also the hard one, is to remember that there's only 5 ways to get something into someone's brain. There are 5 senses. And of the 5, one is the king. Information gets to the brain 30 times faster through the eyes than through the ears. So never say something if you can show it. So those are the 3, biggest tips. But I think people tend to make this harder than they need to make it, right? So it's just reminding people, and especially young people. Everyone that I heard on your podcast talked about that uncertainty that they had in their 20s and 30s, or their mid-20s, until they found their thing. And as I was hearing your other interviewers, and I don't know if you felt the same way, but for me, that time in my life felt like the whole world was a series of yellow lights. I was constantly trying to beat this light. I never had a green light, never had a red light, and I was just stressed trying to find that thing. And it's maybe to let people know you're going to, just keep moving. Keep moving, keep learning, and keep, if you can, learning the lessons you need to know when you trip up. So.
Yep. That's one of the most important things is I messed up, what went well, what didn't go well, and then continue to move forward, correct?
And the biggest tip is find someone who's already doing it. That's been my secret.
Yeah, don't go at it
alone. Find someone who's already successful doing what you want to do and make yourself useful to them.
Yeah. That's, it's funny.
All my mentors, David, I pursued the way you would pursue someone in a romance. I mean, I decided they were going to be my mentor.
Yep.
And in a couple cases, it took a couple of years.
Yeah, I still do that. But it's funny you say that because a lot of young people say, what's your best advice? And I say, don't go at it alone. Create your own board of advisors, your own mastermind. I said, they don't even have to know they're on your board of advisors. When I was in my 20s starting my magazine, I had Norm Brodsky, who was one of the, he wrote for Inc. magazine for 30 years. Sure. He was on my board of advisors. I got Tom Golisano. We're talking about, Paychex founder and the Golisano Institute. So I got Tom. So when I first started my first business, which was a magazine, it was 1995. So I'm a magazine publisher by day. Ooh la la. At night, I'm working at Mario's, right? I'm serving meatballs and ravioli to make my money, right? And I end up waiting on Tom Golisano's executive assistant. She tells me, I'm like, oh my God, I just started a company. Do you think Tom would have lunch with me? I would love to pick his brain. And she looked at me kind of like with a sad little puppy dog look and said, he's running Paychex. I don't know if he has the time. And I'm like, well, here's my brand new business card. Can he at least try? And she's like, I'll let you know. I'm like, all right, whatever. Calls me a week later. She's like, hey, Dave, believe it or not, Tom will meet with you. And he goes, she goes, meet him at the Northside Inn, which was this great Italian restaurant in East Rochester. And he'll buy you lunch. I'm like, wow, he's even going to buy me lunch. I brought my notepad. He spent 2 hours with me. I asked him a ton of questions. He did pay for lunch, and we're friends today, right? I'm doing amazing. Some volunteer work at the Golisano Institute, so full circle.
That's amazing.
I'm working with his students now, helping them, right? And he was on my board of advisors. Did he know that? Absolutely not, right? So I love what you said is don't go at it alone,
and
right?
Here's what you may know the answer to this, so I'll ask. Who was that person for Mr. Golisano?
That is a great question.
Because no one gets there alone.
Yeah.
No one gets there alone. And every guy says, pass it on.
Yeah.
Pass it on.
Oh, he has passed it on steroids.
I'm a voracious reader. But one of the things I love to read for fun is rock star autobiographies. And every rock star had someone who said, I believe in you. Whether it was another rock star or someone else. So there's, the Golisano for Brian Johnson. Brian Johnson, this singer from AC/DC, was singing in a band, wasn't getting anywhere, a band called Gordy back in the early 70s. And he was going to give it up, and he met the lead singer for The Who, Roger Daltrey. And he told Roger that he was ready to give it up, and Roger invited him to his estate for dinner. And he gets there that night, and he has this incredible meal with Roger Daltrey and his wife. And Roger said, I want you to know you have one of the greatest voices I've ever heard. And we were as broke as you are.
Wow.
keep. So, this idea of passing it on. So, and Golisano, I wonder who passed it on for Tom, who made him know that he could lift himself up.
Yeah. Good question. I don't know. I think his family was very influential as far as support, but I'm not sure if he had, somebody that was, his Tom Golisano back in the day that helped him. That's a good question.
And it could be the opposite. It could be he reached out to someone and they wouldn't help him. And then he said, right, I'm not going to be that guy. If someone reaches out, I'm
going to see Tom tomorrow. I swear. I'm going to ask him. That's a great question.
So tell him, Mike Minuto, my dad says hello. They've met at auto auctions because Mr. Golisano has business involvement in the auto auctions as well, and that my father believes that Mr. Golisano should be considered a saint for what he's doing for the children of the children's
Another St. Thomas. He gave away $500,000 earlier this year to local charities. So. Not 500,000, 500 million, 500 million. Right. Yeah. So,
the Children's Hospital in Syracuse is named after him. The Children's Hospital, I think, in Rochester as well. But I could be wrong.
Yeah. And and it's going to be Buffalo soon as well, too. So
let me just make this point. Mm-hmm. The best way to learn is to teach. So one of the things that many successful people know is sitting down with someone that is a mentee, you are mentoring, there is a benefit for you because it's forcing you to think through what you do and and think through the lessons. Okay. So just think about that. If you want to learn something, pick a couple people to teach it to, because then you're going to be forced to learn it.
Yeah. That's why they say the teacher's the best student, right?
Could be, unless, I don't want to speak disparagingly of the teachers' unions, especially not in Rochester.
We'll let that one go. I know what you mean, though. But, Tony Robbins says repetition is the mother of all skills, right? So when you're teaching, you're learning it again and again and again, right? So you're a big guy on brain science, right? Like you're not just throwing out like some motivational strategies and sayings. Like you've done your research and you know like the brain science behind sales success, right? Tell us a little bit about that if you don't mind.
Well, the answers are all out there, and we're finding them all again and again and again every generation. And I would just encourage people to read, because you don't have to the research is done. You just have to be willing to read it. And for me, it's a very active process because for me, it's like mining gold. So I try to find the most influential people that have done the work, whether it was at Stanford or in the case of Dr. Robert Cialdini, who wrote an incredibly important book called Influence, the Psychology of Persuasion. That's the model at Stanford for their negotiation program. So here's what I say, right, to anyone. You could spend $30,000 and go to the Stanford negotiation study and take an executive course, or you could read Dr. Cialdini's 350-page book. In my case, I read it 6 times the first month I got it. And now here's the second secret. I then reached out to him to tell him that his book had changed my life and offered to be his driver if he ever came into Philadelphia. And I knew he was coming in to meet with a mutual client we shared. And I was his driver for 3 days. Find the people, and then we developed a relationship. So most of the books that you see up here on the shelf, I've reached out to the authors. I'm not saying 100% are going to connect with you. For folks who are out there listening, but I will tell you, you will be surprised at the number of authors that will connect with you. So in this, social media, guru kind of world, there are people who will be very smug and say, you realize how many emails I get a day, and I'm not going to, okay. And then there are others.
Do you know who I am?
And then there are the others who are like, man, it's great to hear this. Thank you so much. Because when someone writes a book, okay, it goes out there. It's like a tree fell in the woods. You don't know the impact it's having. So when you reach out to an author and tell him or her the impact it's having, you can stand out. you know?
Yep. Yeah. No,
And-
I agree with you. I've done
and
that.
ask for that cup of coffee. Ask for that cup of coffee. Ask to buy that, just like you did with Mr. Golisano.
Yeah, no, you'd be surprised. I've read many books where I've called the author afterwards, and I'm like, oh my God, I love your book. Can I come meet you? Can I have you on my podcast? Right? I've made some very good friends that way as well. So
100%.
I read a book about 12 years ago called Small Giants. It's written by Bo Burlingham, and he was the editor of Inc. magazine at the time. And I'm like, you know what? I love this book so much. He probably won't even take my call, but I'm going to give it a shot. Not only did he take my call, we became very good friends. I brought him to Rochester to be a speaker for my EO chapter, and I see him about every other year now at the Small Giants conference, and just by like a good old fashioned phone call, and so You're right. You never know what's going to happen.
Listen, Dr. Cialdini honored me by eventually allowing me to work with him and his team. And when my daughter was born, when Devin was born, he sent Devin's first potty chair. And again, from reading a famous author's book and reaching out,
Yeah.
Now, I didn't do for Cialdini what Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger did. When Charlie Munger read Influence, Charlie and Warren gave Dr. Cialdini 2 shares. I believe the number was 2 in Berkshire Hathaway.
Wow.
So that's another way to say thank you.
Yeah, that's a great way. That's a great way. Well, let's you and me get back to teaching a little bit, because I want people to walk away, because you have so many nuggets inside of you and so much learning. Can you share a favorite client story that really kind of captures what Yescalate is all about?
Sure. So Yescalate is 3 steps. And I've shared the 3 steps, but I'll share them. Here's the first step. What works? And the answer is often in an organization's top performers. What are they doing that works? Remember, I said find the people who are doing it. Mm-hmm. Well, in every organization, if you break their performance into 3 categories, you have the top performing reps, the top third, you have the middle third, and you have the bottom third of reps. Now, David, what percentage of a company's revenues does the top third of sales reps generate?
The top third, I'm going to say 80%.
80% is the number.
Yeah.
What, 70 to 80%? Every business, every industry, the top third of sales reps do 70, 80% of the business. I don't care if you're
good old Pareto principle, right?
And the middle third does about what they should, does about 20 to 30%. And what does the bottom third do?
They're probably looking for another job.
Now, here's my question. If we could spend time and be intentional, learning and coaching and training, and if we can get a 10% lift from every one of these 3 categories, what is a 10% lift from your group of folks that are doing 70, 80% of your revenues? What does that mean? It means an increase in your revenues of 8%.
Yeah.
What are we going to get from the bottom third by increasing their performance?
2-3%, right?
Here's the mind-blowing question. What percentage of most companies' training and coaching budgets do they spend on each of these thirds?
Yeah, they're going after the poor performers, right? Let's train them.
80% of their budget is spent on the bottom. That never made sense to me.
Yeah.
So my first question is, what works and what are your top performers doing? And I think of them as high-performance machines. I think of them as Ferraris. I think of them as Porsches. You got to have oil changes. You got to have a pit crew. Okay, even your top performers can improve, and they want to improve. So I have a client. They're right now. They're one of the most successful one day. Well, they will replace your bathroom, your bathtub, and give you a walk-in shower in a day. Okay, They're in the billions in revenue. It's all owned by one Vistage member, and I went on the road with their top 10 performers. And you asked for something that I learned from a client story. 3-hour house sits. I went on 12 house sits all over the country. Every single customer who had called in and requested someone come out, guess what they said to us when we got to the front door?
I'm glad you're here.
I'm not buying from you today. Just so you know, my wife and I are not going to let you in if you're one of those companies that's going to make us buy from you today.
Gotcha.
11 of the 12 bought that day.
Wow.
Now, I can tell you the process they follow. I can tell you the science behind the things they did that work, but I want to tell you what their top performer said when I got them all on the phone. I said, what makes you different? What do you do that you think works? And he said, Dino, I don't worry about making a sale. I focus on making a friend.
Yeah.
If my friend has a problem, let me go back to what I said in the beginning. If my friend has a problem and I know someone out there that can solve that problem, I'm going to tell them who that person is. By the way, if it's me, I want to be their friend in this business. And when I was growing up in Rochester, man, you can attest to this. All the dads would say if you needed a muffler, needed a roof, they'd all say, I know a guy. I got a guy. Focus on
that's the first social network. The Italians invented it. IGotAGuy.com.
You want to make a difference in the world, focus on making a friend. And if your friend has a problem, they're going to know who to call.
So that's the core to getting to yes, right? Is becoming a friend to solve their problem.
So that's kind of the tactical stuff. We could talk about the science of the fact that humans are tribal and what does it mean to be a friend. We could talk about the liking principles from behavioral psychology. But Yescalate as a process is start with what works. Identify your industry's best practices. Start there. Then the second question is, let's use science to explain why it works. And now once we know what works and why it works, let's calibrate it in an honest and ethical way. That's really important. Really important. And every majorly successful individual knows, do the right thing. Just do the right thing. Because if you use your superpower to take advantage of people, karma's going to seek you out. Karma's going to find you. And I won't work with people that are going to use what I teach them in a dishonest way or are lying. I had a situation recently where a client invited me to work with them, putting a sales system in place. And I was listening to one of their reps make a cold call, had never spoken with this person before. And he said something like this, David, just following up, you and I spoke 6 months ago. How you been, David? And when we got off the call, I said, where in your notes does it say what you and David talked about? He said, oh, no, we never talked. But we had a trainer who told us that's a great way to, I said, oh, so you're going to start a relationship with a lie. And now you're going to wonder why 80% of your appointments cancel? Because when they get off the phone, they realize they never spoke to you 6 months ago.
Yeah.
I don't care if you think it works. Don't do it.
Yeah. Not a great way to start off a relationship. Yeah.
Not the way to start it off.
Yeah.
First date with someone. Third date that someone tells you they're married. Not the way to start it off. You know?
Yep, absolutely.
No bueno.
Getting more into the brain science, what are some of the things that most humans are going to be really surprised when you talk about, brain science as it relates to sales?
So I love that question. And I wanted to just also make this point, and I'll come back to that question that you just asked. I wanted to make the point that the reason to do the right thing and not lie isn't because anyone's ever going to find out. It's because how it's going to make you feel and how you're going to carry that and how it's going to eat away at you. Yeah. So the thing to be surprised, here's some brain science that I've been most surprised about, is the power of carrying that extra weight when you're doing things that aren't right or when you're not letting things go that you need to let go. Yeah. So I learned an interesting fact from a neuroscientist just this summer. I learned 3 incredible things from an amazing neuroscientist. I've been reading his work and I reached out to him and connected to him. But one of the things that Dr. Greg Wells shares is when humans get scared, their eyes actually narrow. You actually lose your peripheral vision. When you go into fight or flight, when you get scared, when you get angry, I can actually see it happen in my girlfriend's eyes. I can actually see her eyes narrow. And he says, when you lose your peripheral vision, whatever that thing is that triggered you, you might now miss the bigger threat that's outside of your peripheral vision, and you might miss the big opportunity because your eyes have actually narrowed. And the cool part is you can change that in less than 3 seconds.
How so?
I'm not good. That's paid content, man. It's actually 3 steps, and all 3 steps are documented. Do it with me right now. We did it in the workshop you're in. Breathe in.
Yep.
Breathe in. Look up. Now slowly exhale. Look at me and smile. Did you feel it?
I feel better.
Those 3 things release dopamine in your brain.
Yeah.
And that dopamine, that reward chemical, calms us down.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I the past few years I learned a lot about breathing, and what do they say? It activates your lymphatic system by activating your vagus nerve. It basically tells your mind, body, and soul everything's going to be okay. Right?
There you go, man. You shared a fact I learned from you in one of the podcasts, that bird song calms our soul. Because ancient man, if he could hear a bird singing, he knew there were not threats around him that the birds could see. Yeah. And they're higher above us. So if that bird is chirping, it's feeling pretty good.
Everything's going to be okay. Yeah, you're right. It does. It activates this.
I was interested. Is that true, or did you make that shit up?
Swear to God, go Google it.
I make at least half of this stuff up.
That part is true.
And the challenge now with audiences is you can't make stuff up, because those kids will Google. Those kids will go on Wikipedia. I'm going to put that in
ChatGPT and find out.
Yeah, they'll give me 5, and I'm like, hey, yeah, but you didn't see this footnote, did you? Yeah. And they're like, all right, you got me, Dino.
I love it. So, what I love about you is you're such a voracious reader and researcher, and there's science and facts to back up everything that you're saying. What is something that you've discovered about human behavior that still surprises you today?
So I would shy away from the word discover, because the information is out there. When I may have learned it or picked it up, that's a different story. But the thing that continues to surprise me today is the power of vulnerability. Doctors do not get sued for malpractice when they admit to mistakes. Top performers bring up the objection before the customer brings it up. That whole idea of the word vulnerable comes from a French word, which means not only to open up, but it means to wound. Because when you open yourself up, you leave yourself open to being wounded. And I think this idea of being vulnerable, and one of your interviewers talked about it, that she doesn't share her story about her brother with everyone. She doesn't share the story about her 1-year marriage with everyone. Why? Because it makes her vulnerable. Yeah. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Then she admitted she said it on your podcast, so there's no more hiding it.
It's out of the box. It's out there. I love the fact that you listen to past interviews too. That's not many guests have done that. So thank you for that. I love it.
Well, it's my pleasure. Thank you. I mean, listen, that's the other thing. Do the work.
Yeah.
If someone's going to invite you, just don't show up.
Yeah.
Do the work.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you something about David. He don't care about us in this interview.
Yeah.
We need to care about him.
Right.
I asked David. I did. I said, David, send me a list of the questions you want to answer. What'd you say?
I don't do that.
We're going to talk.
We're going to save a conversation.
I'm going to talk. No. Now I'm going to do the work.
Yeah.
I'm going to do the work.
Yep.
Because I value your time and I want to be useful. So I started to get a feel for where you were going and what people were sharing. And then how could I weave that in so people see the thread? And they may be interested in listening to the gems that Scaramucci shared with you, or the gems that Alana shared with you.
Yeah. Well, and you're giving a lot of gems too. I want to get some more out of you. So if people are watching this, they're going to say, this guy, you said when you graduate high school, they're going to figure out your age. You look fantastic.
137. I'm 137.
I love it. You look great for 137. I mean, I would say 120. You look
I'm like one of those cars, though, at the Meacham auction. You don't want to look under the hood. They look really. You see those guys pushing those antique cars out? Yeah.
No, you look good for you.
Thank you.
For you look fantastic.
I used to say to my daughter, I can't wait till tomorrow.
You better look at every day. Yeah.
Better looking every day.
I do the same thing to my daughter. I do that to my daughter too. And I wonder
where we learned that one from.
Maybe you. So, but I wanted to ask you.
Your kids have beautiful names. You shared your daughter's names. They're beautiful.
Yeah, we went with the nice Irish names: Gianluca, Melania, and Alessio.
Wow. Oh, so it's one daughter and two boys?
Two boys. Yep, two boys.
Got it.
Yep,
Wonderful.
20,
What a blessing.
22, 20, and 14. So, yep.
Oh my gosh, let me.
Yep. They're very, very good
Those are
kids.
tough ages. Those are tough ages.
I know. We're pushing through.
Well, it's tough for them to be those ages. And I think,
are you kidding me?
You and Scaramucci talked about the beauty of not growing up in a world that had screens. But I will just say we grew up in a world. Let me say this differently. Comparison is the death of happiness.
Yeah, I love
and these
that.
kids grow up in a world where social media is constantly making them compare themselves, their parents, their school. They don't realize the blessings, the joys that they have because they're constantly comparing themselves to this crap. And it is crap. 99% of it is performative. It's not real. People are lying about how their day was. People are lying about the houses they live in or the cars they drive. They rented it for that video, you know? And yet these kids, this goes back to what I said about visual. They're seeing stuff and they're processing it very quickly. And that is a challenge. This is a Dino line that I used in the session with you. Nothing is. Everything is what we're comparing it to.
Yeah. Well,
and if you're constantly comparing to this kid whose parents have a yacht or this 25-year-old who drives a Lambo or whatever, you're going to feel inferior.
Yeah. Well, what's the phrase? FOMO, fear of missing out, right? So, yeah.
It's big. It's big.
All right, you ready for the lightning round? We're going to wrap up with some lightning round questions, Dino. You ready?
Yeah. Did you ever hear Sammy Hagar do this on his show with the musicians? He'll say Stratocaster or Les Paul, and he makes them pick one in the lightning round.
I haven't heard that. No.
Or Ferrari. Yeah. He does a lightning round where he gives them two things and they got to pick one.
So, fun fact about Sammy Hagar. I was reading about him years ago in Rolling Stone magazine, and he goes, I only had one quote-unquote real job in my life before I became a musician. And that job was, he said, I was a garbage man in Rochester, New York.
The book Red, his first autobiography, I read it every year because it talks, Sammy will be a billionaire, and only 100 million came from music. He is an incredible business person, and the book is incredible. So a couple of things. First of all, he married a Rochester girl, his first wife. His current wife was dating the quarterback, Kelly, for the Buffalo Bills.
Oh, wow. Jim Kelly. Yeah.
She was Jim Kelly's girl. That's Sammy's current wife. So
everything comes back to Western New York.
All comes back to Rochester. So here's the great story about Sammy, okay? They're on food stamps. He's the lead singer, and he started to write songs for a band called Montrose in the 1970s, okay? Yeah. Sammy writes a song that becomes a hit. They still play it today. Sammy's out on the road, got no money. He comes back. His manager says, come to the office. I got your first royalty check. This is in the early 70s. First royalty check was $9,000. Nice. On the drive home, he stopped at the Porsche dealer and bought a 911 for $9,000. His wife goes, Sammy, we're on food stamps. He goes, never again. I got the formula. Never again.
Yeah. I love it.
Yep. Write the song, go out on the road, do the work, buy the 911.
Yep. There you go. You obviously took that advice too, right? So, because aren't you a Porsche guy?
I am. Well, once you drive a 911, you're done.
I love it.
You're done. That's why I won't let anyone drive. I let my neighbor Dave drive it 4 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, he bought a Boxster for himself.
Right.
Yeah, you're done. You're
like
never going to be happy with what you got. That goes back to that death. Comparison is the death of happiness.
Yeah. Well, next time you're in town, I want to drive your 911.
Yeah. Well, I just got a Panamera GTS. It just arrived. So that's the one.
You're talking about that.
It's 4-wheel drive and 4-wheel steering. So that's the one. If you want, I'll let you drive that.
All right. I appreciate that. All right, here we go. Lightning round. What is one word that people would use to describe you?
The sun.
Sun. Why is that?
Because I bring light and I light people up, and I want to be the sun. I want to be the sun. There's a whole area of psychology that's been incredibly well researched. It used to be called growth or flow or positive psychology. It's now called heliotropic, like the sun. First God humans ever worshiped was the sun. And the sun is what powers growth. You can either be the sun on people's leaves or the salt on their roots. And that's a line from Dr. Harry Cohen. I want to be the sun. When you open up the doors to my GTS, all the door sills light up with the 3 words, be the sun.
Yeah. Oh, no, I love that. I thought you were going to say the word yes, but sun is better. Love it. All right, next question. What book or podcast has most shaped your thinking?
Other than you? Other than this one?
Thank you very much. Other than this one. Not the Dave Amano Show, because we know that's the obvious answer. So what else?
Yeah. So I quote from now, it's around 100 books in my workshops. I would say that the simplest little book, by the way, everyone should buy the book Be the Sun, which is Dr. Harry Cohen's book. Everyone should also read about Russell Conwell and the famous speech he delivered called Acres of Diamonds. There's an amazing little book by James Allen at the turn of the last century called As a Man Thinketh. Dr. Cialdini's book, everything you need to know about influence and persuasion is in that book. I could go on. There's books that make me angry because they're so good, I wish I had written them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay? Like I read it, I go, man, did this guy, he nailed it.
Yeah.
Like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And then there's books, I'm going to give you a great learning. I once heard another author on stage make fun of another author. And I realized I was never going to do that. He put this author's book up in front of 700 CEOs. And he said, terrible book, but it's got a great title. All you need is the title. And the title was Never Eat Alone.
Oh, my God.
Well, I know Keith, who wrote that book.
Too. Yeah.
So I called Keith. You know Keith? I called Keith. I said, what'd you do to this guy? Yeah. He starts laughing. He goes, well, I know him. Why do you say that? I said, because he just threw you under the bus. I said, but I say it differently now. My goal is to write a book with a title that's so good you don't have to read the book.
Right.
That's my goal. To write a book. By the way, Be the Sun and Not the Salt is one of those books. The title is so good. Yeah. Here's a book on customer service. You ready for the greatest customer service book? And here's the title. Would you do that to your mother?
Ooh,
that's all you need to know.
Right.
What else do you need to know about service? Would you do that to your mom?
That's almost
then don't
better
do it to our customers.
That's almost better than the golden rule, right? So I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah, I love it. Well, and how about the book, the recent book by Mel Robbins, Let Them, right?
Life-changing.
Right, boom. And it just...
By the way, buy the book. You don't have to read the book. Get the Audible. Here's what I do now. I buy a book and get the Audible so that when I'm now reading the book, I hear the voice. If you listen to the first 10, 15 minutes of Mel's book, life-changing. Yeah. That's a book that changed my life. Let them.
Yep.
You can't control it. You didn't cause it. You can't cure it. Let them.
Yeah, let them feel that way.
And now let me, right?
Yeah.
What a beautiful gift she is. Now, that's a great, she's onto something great when people are actually tattooing the title to her book on their arms.
Right.
So this is my favorite work of art. It's called Self-Made Man. The artist is Bobby Carlyle, and it's a guy carving himself out of granite. If you look up, I know people might not be able to see this if they're just listening to it. If you look up Self-Made Man by Bobby Carlyle, it's an image of a man carving himself out of granite. That image is so powerful that people tattoo it on themselves to remind themselves they're in control of their destiny.
Yeah. Did you tattoo it? Do you have it someplace on your body?
I have no tattoos. I have no tattoos.
Me either.
I used to joke I have an M on each butt cheek and it says mom. Or if I'm on my back, it says wow.
We don't want to verify that, but thank you.
Let's cut that. We'll take care of that in post. Take care of that in post-production. Scott, delete.
Well, this leads to my next lightning question here. What do you have a quote or a mantra that you live by?
Every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. Every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. Every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. That mantra has actually been shown to be able to rewire the neurons in your brain. Wow. And the man who originally wrote that, and he was a French pharmacist and philosopher named Emile Coué, he gave prescriptions to the same people who had the same illness, but half of them he gave the mantra and told them to read it 20 times a day. They got better faster.
Oh, shit.
The brain goes where you tell it to go.
Yeah.
Every day in every way, I'm getting better and better.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a good mantra. I remember you said that when I met you too. All right, last question, Dino. You ready? If it was a different world and there was not what you do now, it wasn't a career. Like, in other words, if you couldn't teach people how to get to yes, what would Dino be doing for a living?
Wow. It's a different world, and today is different. We're always starting different. I don't think I would want to do anything other than what I'm doing. I think it didn't exist, and so I created it, and I would create it again. I would just create it again. And it's a water flowing kind of thing. I mean, this is where we ended up, man. But the cool part, so I have a friend who is also a professional musician, and he suffered a stroke. And he lost all but about 10 words of the English language. And he taught himself the English language again and had to teach himself to play guitar again. Because his brain and his hands and his mouth didn't work the same way after the stroke. Mm-hmm. And I saw him at an event. I gave him a hug and I said, Kirby, there's a question I've been wanting to ask you. I said, because whenever I pick up my guitar, after I go a couple of months or even a couple of years without playing, it feels like I'm starting over. I said, is that how it felt for you? And he said, Dino, we're never starting over. We're always starting different.
That's powerful.
Boom. Yeah. So I got the trademark. I'm going to put that on the cover of the next book. That's the next. The book is so good. You're never starting over. You're always starting different. He said, I play with the same guys that I've been playing with in the band for 30 years. Yeah. They tell me my tone is different. They tell me the way I attack the strings with the pick is different. I still play. I still read music. I'm still a guitar player. But every day we're starting different.
Yep. Dino, this has been full of massive gold nuggets. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I know that my family here, the Dave Amato Show family, they're going to want to learn more. We're going to send them to yescalate.com, correct?
Yeah, all right, cool.
And where else? I mean, they want to get in touch.
How do they get in touch with Scott if they want to use the studio over there? Let's spread the wealth, man.
Absolutely. That's If you want a podcast, Scott Fitzgerald, Rock Fox is the best. And if you want to learn how to get people to say yes, and you doing it in a way that is authentic and genuine, full of character and integrity, you are going to contact Dino at yescalate.com.
So everyone, if they want to link with me on LinkedIn, I share things. I don't share it. I share content. I'm not out, trying to sell a book or do that stuff. The last couple of years, because of the lockdown, I've created a series of very short explainer videos that I now have packaged if someone does want to talk to me about using this stuff with their teams, etc. So thank you, David. Thank you for that.
Very good. And I've been calling him Dino because I love him, but his real name is Dean Minuto. And honestly, if you want a personal connection to Dino, throw me an email, david@davidmamano.com, and I'll do a personal connection because I know that Dino would welcome that.
And I'll do the same thing. If anyone wants to meet you, it's Dean at Yescalate. If they want a personal connection to you.
Bring it on.
It's always
Bring it on.
Make an introduction.
I love meeting new people. I met with a young woman today that I met at one of my shows, and she goes, I'm so glad you reached out. Like, why did you want to meet? And I think she thought I was being a creeper or something. And I'm like, I just love meeting new people, and I try to find out like how I can help them. She's part of running our local Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, and I was like, how can I help?
Well,
how can I help?
Let's be honest, David. You could also be a creep. Two things could both be true.
Well, that actually is true. No, I'm just kidding. I was not being a creep this time, but no. I love helping and meeting new people, and there's not many people like us that like genuinely mean that and do it. So I think people are a little unguarded at first, and then when they realize like, No, I'm just a good guy and wondering what we could do together to make the world a better place. Let's make it happen.com.
Let's all make a difference. We're all here to make a difference. And the two things in my reading that are culturally universal. And the first is that human beings are tribal, and we only survive when we help others and when we lift others up. Yeah.
Love it. Great way to end the show. Dino, you are super, super fantastic. Thank you so much
a lot
for
of fun. Yeah.
Well, and again, tell your parents that I'm very glad that they had you, because I'm glad that you were born.
I'll have you tell them. I'll come. I'm coming back to Rochester. I'll be back for Thanksgiving. I'll let you tell them. You can tell my mom. He's a good kid.
I want to come over for leftovers. So, all right, we're going to get together. I love that.
Thank you, David.
Right. I want to thank the podcast family here. Thank you for listening and watching and making this show as impactful as it can be. As always, please share it, like it, love it. Do what you got to do to spread our good word. Share it with a friend. And I want to tell you to make sure to have a great day and stay awesome.